My article for the St. Andrew's Encyclopedia of Theology is about Lutheran Ecclesiology. Ecclesiology is a branch of theological study, dogmatic theological inquiry, and I'm writing on that from the perspective of the Lutheran tradition. Ecclesiology, in some ways, still must be addressed from various denominational or inter-Christian positions, in part because it is a topic that became of sort of focused interest for theology subsequent to the European Reformations. How do we understand ourselves now that we're no longer all of a piece in this one single thing that we all just used to talk about as the church? Ecclesiology, or the doctrine of the church, basically has to do with Christians' collective self-understanding of themselves. So the church is kind of like doing theology as it looks in the mirror. The Lutheran Reformation was I would say, the most diverse of the magisterial reformations. It had its roots initially in Germany, but moved quite quickly to the Nordic countries and also to the Baltic countries. And so you had theologians, civil magistrates, and others who were, again, seeking to say what the church is, where it can be found, how it is to be understood, doing this across the sort of most diverse landscape of the magisterial Reformation, claiming to fully represent and inherit the theological and ecclesial treasures of the Western Church. So their point of departure was never to say, here we are, this group of Germans or this group of Scandinavians, much less this group of Protestants, and here we are just doing our own new thing. They maintained, for example, a robust sacramentology. They maintained ministerial orders. In many ways, they also maintained very, very traditional liturgical structures. Lutheran ecclesiology today has an important part kind of in the center of various Christian denominations and Christian groups, which has been very, very important in the 20th century and into the 21st century with the awakenings and then the large work of the ecumenical movement that continues to this day. There is always the interest to preserve, hold high, and call attention to the gospel as the gospel. That sort of pervades the ecclesiological thought as it relates to things like the ministry, the shape and structure of the church, sacramentology, pastoral care, and the interaction of church with community and even with the state. They had learned from him to get rid of the law of the Pope and the canon law, but they just made a new law. Everything in the church has to be in the Bible or it all has to go. Well, those are just new have-tos. And he recognized that. So he's a fascinating figure in part because his theology is almost some sort of dialectic application of an understanding between the gospel as the gospel and some requirements.